So here's some poor babies. Again, that kind of fluffy, unkempt, downy feather look to them. So I wouldn't say that shrikes will nest in an abandoned car, but these babies are hanging out, and some adults might go hunting in there. I mean, mice hang out in abandoned cars. They have nests in abandoned cars. They might have some young mice kind of wobbling around in there. Those are perfect food for a shrike. Okay. After the adults have raised their babies, and the babies can fly, migration is the next step. So shrikes leave Saskatchewan around the beginning of September, and they do not fly as a family. Those babies are on their own for migration. They all fly away. The male and the female do not stick together. The male's got to find a female the next year. She's got to find a mate the next year. They fly 3,000 kilometers to wintering grounds in southern Texas and northern Mexico. I have to interject here. When we talk about these birds being threatened because they're experiencing habitat loss, they're experiencing habitat loss here, but they're also experiencing it all through their migratory pathway and in their wintering grounds in Mexico as well. So we have our due diligence to do to provide them with a good breeding ground, but there are other folks and other threats that these birds experience as they make that migratory flight. So we can do the best we possibly can. And if they don't come back, you don't need to beat yourself up on it. And these birds have a long trek. And they're here with us for the most important part of their life cycle, but they have a long way to go. And there's a lot of stuff that can happen during that migratory period. Okay, so here's a map that shows a couple different subspecies of the loggerhead shrike. There's a prairie and an eastern subspecies. The prairie species is the one we have here, and it's threatened. And you can see that in, the map doesn't show necessarily the different places that those species are. Okay, so what the map shows is their breeding range in green, and blue is where they spend all year. They can potentially breed there as well as overwinter there, because it's nice and warm there in the States. And the red is just winter range. So there are some birds that fly all the way down to the eastern coast there, and they spend their winter there. Both the prairie and the eastern subspecies is endangered, both of them are protected under the Species at Risk Act. So they breed all across the Great Plains region of North America, and so that range is, historically at least, it's in the southern half of our province. And one of the reasons that we ask you guys to collect data for us is because their range fluctuates. And we want to know how and if it's changing. So it's really important to know where the birds are breeding. That's another important bit of information that our stewards provide us with. Okay, so as I was saying, the range fluctuates. The light blue, I don't know if you guys can see that, but the light blue on the northern edge of that shape was their historical breeding range. And then we got a whole bunch of data in the mid-90s, and that was the breeding range at that time. Currently, the breeding range has kind of contracted down into the southern half of our province. So it looks like it's shrinking. And whether or not you're on board with the climate change thing, those birds may experience a different shift in their population based on what kind of weather they run into in their breeding range. So it'll be really interesting to keep track of them through the time when their habitat is being impacted, but also through the period of time when our climate might be changing as well.
How's the research coming in on cell phone usage changing migratory patterns?
Say it again, how is the research coming in on what?
They were supposed to be doing research on cell phones. Cell phone usage changing migratory patterns.
Oh my goodness.
Also changing breeding patterns too.
Are you talking about cell phone usage like person to person, or are you talking about cell phone towers?
Cell phone usage.
I don't know. That's a really cool question. I don't know. I'm going to enough to get back to you on it. What had you, do you
Because it was announced on the radio a couple of years ago that they were finding that cell phone usage was altering the patterns for bees. It was throwing them off balance, and migratory birds as well.
I don't know. That is really intriguing. I'm going to have to look into it. Yeah, I'll come to you and I'll be sure that I have your name so that if I find something, I can get in touch with you about it. That's really interesting. Okay, we've talked a little bit about habitat loss and degradation. This is the kind of stuff that happens both in Saskatchewan but also in the U.S. and in parts of Mexico as well. So we've got conversion of pasture or grassland to crops, and we also have the loss of shelter belts and trees that could potentially provide it with those thorns and nesting places. They also, as we create more roads, or as the traffic changes, the density of traffic on our roads changes, the potential for them to be hit by a car also changes. Okay, one of the ways that that Nature Saskatchewan addresses these threats is by the creation of our program, Shrubs for Shrikes. And many of you are participants in that program. So we began the program in 2003. And it is part of that Stewards of Saskatchewan banner program, along with Plovers on Shore and the Stewards of Saskatchewan for animals like the pipit and the monarch butterfly and the northern leopard frog. We have 197 participants conserving about 38,000 acres. So the goals of our Stewards of Saskatchewan program are habitat conservation, population monitoring, increased awareness, and promoting habitat enhancement through beneficial management practices. Josh and Grace and Michelle kind of spoke to those beneficial management practices. We've got some for Loggerhead Shrikes here with us. Mostly what they do is they provide you with their life cycle and let you know, okay, we're in the middle of July, what are they doing right now? They've got their babies coming out of their nest. But they also have a questionnaire. Regardless of the species that they focus on, they have a questionnaire that will take you through the way you are using land. And based on your answers, you can follow those management practices in the table that is also provided there. And the table describes little tweaks and changes that you might be able to make to increase the quality of the habitat or decrease the chance that your activity on the land is going to have a negative impact. But again, if you've got the birds, you're doing something right, and we're not pressuring you to change it. The beneficial management practices are just, they're light reading, just in case you wanted to know what you can do to increase rare species and species at risk on your land in general. Okay. Oh, I just described this. These are specific BMPs for shrikes. So it's important to preserve the native prairie habitat. She likes that. That's a good one. Do not remove existing shelter belts and abandoned farm sites. Plant trees and shrubs at boundaries of different crop types and leave a 2 to 4 meter strip of herbaceous vegetation around those. Plant thorny shrub species. Clean up spilled grain and used bird and rodent-proof bins. Restrict access to livestock to woody vegetation in the spring and graze lightly to moderately. So specifically what you guys can do is learn about the shrikes. That's what you're doing tonight. And plant thorny shrubs like hawthorn and buffalo berry. And we've got some seedlings that we can hand out if any of you are interested in that. Yeah, there you go. You can protect the existing habitat that you have and join the Shrubs for Shrikes program so that you can be one of our stewards in our program. We're not just providing supper for you guys because we want to thank you. We want to thank you, but you guys are Nature Saskatchewan. You're the people that make our programs possible. We don't have enough people to monitor these species on our own, and we're not the kind of organization that is invasive. We don't go onto the land ban them or look at them with cameras. We don't ask you to change anything about them. We need you guys to be our eyes and our ears. And so you're the backbone of our programs, and we really appreciate the work you do for us. So, thank you for being caretakers of these species, and there are a lot of them. If you want to get more involved, if you want to look for other rare species besides shrikes, we've got a host of species that you can keep an eye out for. And sorry? Okay, so if you find a loggerhead shrike, you can call our hotline. It's that 1-800 number there. We've got business cards that have it on it as well. And you can help to conserve habitat and determine the abundance and distribution of rare species throughout our province. So these are our supporters, and it's important for us to thank them as well. And thank you. Wow, that's cool. Thank you very much. And I'll see you. If you think of something as the evening wears on, please feel free to nab me and ask me.
I'll just mention on your table, there is an evaluation in the pen. If you don't mind filling it out, Nature Saskatchewan and PCAP will be the results, so we can keep doing events like this in the future. So if you don't mind filling it out, that would be awesome. And you can either leave it at the table, we'll find it, or else there's a green basket at the back where there's evaluations. Please feel free to put it in the next room. So thank you. Any more questions for Shirley? Well, thank you for the presentation. I love the glory parts. I don't like seeing anything like that, but I like seeing wow, like the pale or wire. So thank you so much, Shirley. I'll just mention too that PCAP usually records our presentations, and we upload it to the PCAP YouTube channel. Don't worry, we're releasing it differently. It's youtube.com/user/skpcap. And we have a whole selection of presentations there, no past events too, so you can always check it out. I'm going to go out some next.
Awesome, thanks, Caitlin. Okay, so that basically sums up our evening. Emily, do you mind getting the lights while you're walking by? Thank you. So as Caitlin said, yeah, we really appreciate those evaluation